Let's talk about why your project was not selected for FEMA funding. I often see communities either preparing the grant application themselves or using the same engineering consultant for the design and the grant application. There are several reasons why this approach doesn't result in a successful application. Typical engineering firms specialize in engineering design. They have a lot of experience preparing studies, completing complex modeling and calculations, and preparing construction drawings. But they typically don't have the expertise, time, or desire, or a combination of these, to put towards the fine-tuned detail that a solid grant application needs. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm an engineer and a consultant, so I have nothing against these groups. This is one of those cases where you need to hire a specialist to do a specialty job. Many engineers think that anyone can prepare a successful grant application. That is not true. Writing a successful FEMA grant application requires an understanding of the engineering calculations, but it also requires a thorough knowledge of the grant requirements, especially the unwritten rules that you only learn by going through the FEMA process and working through different types of applications with the state and federal reviewers. Let me explain. FEMA's sub-application form will ask you questions about your project and indicate when to attach documentation. But it will not tell you how to prepare that document for your specific project or give you examples of acceptable forms of documentation. And since FEMA's Notice of Funding Opportunity for BRIC and FMA only happens once a year, every time you submit an application that isn't selected, you have to wait an entire year before you can try again. Remember, these are competitive grant programs, not a handout. Your application needs to highlight the aspects of your project important to the selection committee. You learn this, just like anything else, through experience. Here's where I'm different. My grant writing process focuses on turning your engineering study into a meticulous application with all the I's dotted and F's crossed. F is for flood, of course. I have learned over the years what documentation is really needed, not just what the form asks for. And these applications are very complex. They're unlike any other grant application. My FEMA applications and all the supporting documentation are typically around 2,000 pages per project. This is a substantial effort, much more than most communities are expecting. I recently spoke to a community that submitted a FEMA application themselves. They were so frustrated with the process. They filled out the application and waited for questions from the reviewers. They said it felt like a guessing game as they tried to figure out how to respond to the comments. Their project was not selected, but I believe it's a great candidate for funding. By rewriting their application, we can significantly improve their chances of being selected. If, like the community I mentioned, you are frustrated and need FEMA funding, let's chat to see if I'm the right grant writer to bring your project to the finish line.